Hello, and welcome to Zero to Something, a space where we talk about tech startup founders, their highs, lows, and everything in between. Without further ado, let's get on with our conversation today. It's 1:03 a.m. You're on your third, actually fifth cup of coffee today, and you got up from your laptop for maybe an hour throughout the entire day. But hey, this is what all founders do, right? Or is this just a bit of that grind culture just sipping into your brain? So in today's episode, I'd like to unpack the true resilience, not that grind till you burn out type of thing that we're all socialized to believe. Let's talk about grind culture and resilience in very simple terms. The grind culture is all about that hard work glorification. Think sleepless nights and caffeine overdose and you'll rest when you're dead mentality, which is very ominous, might I add. It's all about equating your effort with your worth. And in startup founders, it's very common to wear that grind culture as a badge of honor. But the reality is it's more about performance than actual results. Resilience, on the other hand, it's about the long-term process. It doesn't mean never struggling or never working hard, but it means knowing when to step back, when to pivot, when to ask for help, and not equating the hours you put in with how well you're doing, because one does not necessarily always mean the other. So why is it so common among startup founders? Sometimes you hear these success stories and they say, oh, I worked 20 hours a day for 6 months without a day off, and that is why my startup worked. You hear that, you think that's the only way forward. Another reason is that startups are all about chaos and working outside of normal hours. And yes, you are your own boss, but it also means that it's sometimes much harder to set boundaries with time. Sometimes you feel like if you're not doing anything, you are losing time and you could be progressing further if you just worked for one more hour or if you just hadn't taken that day off. And so you will not take that day off again because who needs rest? It's so easy to get caught up in that cycle of overwork. But the reality is, and many studies support that overworking just actually inhibits your ability to move forward. It stops you from thinking creatively, stops you from solving problems effectively, and it just leads to burnout, which inevitably leads to your whole body just shutting down. Some studies actually went further and connected downtime and rest with better problem-solving abilities. And hey, as founders, this is what we do on a daily basis, all day long, really. We solve problems, ours and our clients. And I know it's so much easier said than done. I've just recently faced it myself. Not so long ago, we signed 3 clients for pilots. And for some reason, unknown up to this day, we decided it would be a great plan to start all 3 trials on the same day, which meant that we had to get all the work done and customize everything for every client by the exact same date. Because our company has to do with training through voice AI, I actually spent more time talking to AI in June than I did to actual human beings. And it was frustrating. And if you'd like more background on what we do, mark it in the comments and then I'll do a separate video about that because it's actually really fun, interesting, and very helpful. Anyways, I digress. Back to the story. We had to work crazy hours nonstop and our software engineers went just in complete overdrive as well. And there were some things that we still needed to finish even as the weekend rolled around and we had to work over the weekend. And at some points, I started going crazy before the pilot actually began. At that time, I was lucky enough to be nearby the sea. So I would just take half an hour, go by the sea, relax, enjoy the view, breathe the air, have a nice Turkish coffee before I return back to work. And you know what? Usually pushing through the problem did not help. Taking a step back, a breather, coming back to it with newly digested information was what I really needed. And it was very similar to one of our software engineers who had to get some work done over the weekend. And she took some time off to explore the city with her partner or whatever else she needed to do to just step away and then be able to have a fresh view on the problem. And we got everything done by the day we needed to do. We started all the pilots. Doesn't mean there were no little hiccups and things to fix afterwards, but it was not because we made a step back. That step back helped us actually continue and deliver in the end. Now, how do you spot that whole grind culture just seeping into your brain and just taking over? Well, couple ways to do so. Number one, you're going this massive guilt trip after taking a break. Whether it was a 5-minute break or a 5-hour break, it just crushes you. Number two, if you're constantly working, putting in hours, and yet are never satisfied with the results, step back, breathe a little, and see what's not working. Pushing through the problem is not always the right thing to do. And finally, if you're feeling like you're getting less satisfaction and joy from the thing that you loved so much, your product, your work, your startup. Because very often when we get stuck in that grind culture, we just focus so much on the effort put, not the results received, that the process doesn't matter anymore, right? The final product, that doesn't matter to you anymore. All that matters are the goddamn hours you put in. And when did that do anybody any good? So what do we do about that grind culture that's probably stopping you from getting the results you want? Well, as always, it starts with reframing how you think. And there are two reframes that you should think about. Number one, it's centered around your rest. Rest is not something to be earned. It's just a part of the process. So treat it like you treat work. Don't fall into resting too much where you're just procrastinating, obviously. But be very deliberate about it. Think about the ways that actually makes you rest. Schedule it in if you have to. But remember, without rest and recovery, there is no achieving a result in the end. The second reframe, it's about what true resilience is. Resilience is about knowing when to push and go, but also knowing when to let go and step back. And then there are a couple ways to kind of restart, reboot, and take a break. That is very different for different people. So let's talk about some categories of things you could do to restore your body and mind, depending on what type of person you are. For you, high energy folks, me included, do something that kind of shakes you out of it. It could be a 20-minute workout, yoga session, boxing match, or just take a cold shower, run out, do something that's in your body and takes you out of your head for a second. For all of you people who love planning and thinking and you just can't stop your brain from running all the time, sit down and take a pen and a paper or turn on your voice notes or whatever medium works for you and just do a brain dump, right? Get everything that's in your brain out, whether that's to-do lists, worries, thoughts, ideas, whatever that is, get it out of your head. It will help you get some space for new ideas and ways to solve the problem. From this next one, actually, a lot of people can benefit. You know how they often say that whenever you're doing something completely unrelated, you suddenly come up with a solution to the problem you were thinking? Like you were having a conversation with a friend and you couldn't remember the name of the film, and then suddenly you went for a walk a day later and it just popped into your head. That. Try and do that. Do completely unrelated things to your work. Go sketch a bit or rearrange a shelf, clean up your room, or make the most beautiful or ugliest painting in your life. Just let your subconscious flow. And finally, for all of you very social people, which, hey, I also, true rest for me comes from social settings. So text a friend, talk to your relative, call somebody that you haven't called in years, or text somebody that you've been thinking about. Or you can even connect to somebody from the startup community and maybe discuss your problem if that's something that can help you work through it. But if connection is something that helps you reset, go and get it. Founders very often assume that the more hours they put in, the better the results will be. Unfortunately, Or maybe fortunately even, it's not always the case. Just because you spend 12 hours a day working doesn't mean you're actually working towards something true. I've learned, sometimes the hard way, that you need to step away from time as a metric and start thinking about results as metrics instead, because that can help you understand when you need to stop, reassess, reevaluate your options, and maybe pivot if needed. So as usual, I'd like to leave you with 2 questions to reflect on, whether it's a journal or just in your head, or maybe in a voice note or with a friend. Number 1, what part of your work are you forcing right now? And what would it look like if it were easy? Or dare I say even fun? And the second one is, what are you currently doing on a regular basis that feels productive, but isn't actually getting you the results that you want? And with that, thanks for tuning for today's episode. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.